Hey, yo, hey, yo, hey, yo. What's up, everybody? Appreciate you joining us. This is I guess tonight it's the Coast podcast because Sean is actually on the East Coast, just outside of the DMV right now. Not the DMV like motor vehicles office, but the DMV area of suburban DC, Virginia, and Maryland. Um, but it's typically called the Coast to Coast podcast. We appreciate you guys tuning in, all the folks out there in inside Carolina land. We're thankful for you. Hey, special thanks to all of you guys and gals who gave us ratings and reviews after the last episode. I know we're coming to you a couple of days late due to travel this time, but want to make sure we start with some thank yous. And I'll give shout outs to specific folks a little bit later in the show, but we're thankful for you guys giving us those ratings and reviews. They definitely help. And it lets us know that you guys actually appreciate what it is that we're doing for you. Has been a lot going on since the last time we met. So we're going to try to get all of it in this episode. Want to make sure, again, rate and review for us. Make sure you're taking the time to subscribe if you're watching this on YouTube so that you get all the content sent right to your feed. And we appreciate you being a part of it. And if you're not an Inside Carolina Premium subscriber, the hell are you doing? Get your life together. Go ahead and subscribe. Inside Carolina always has really good deals running right now. Look, the three of us are huge football fans. I'm not going to lie. And the football content that's coming out since camp started last week has been top notch. Shout out to Greg Barnes and Ross Martin and Gregory Hall and Isaiah and, oh gosh, I'm going to forget her name and I hope she doesn't stab me. Haven't had a chance to meet her yet, but IC's newest intern. Big fans of those folks. They're working so hard to get you guys the content that you're used to. So if you're a football and basketball fan, make sure you're checking that out. But the main thing is go subscribe to Inside Carolina, get the premium content, get it when you need it, get it quick. And we certainly appreciate all the work they're doing and appreciate you guys consuming what it is that we're putting out here. Fellas, let's get rolling. Everybody knows the two that are here. Kirsten, yes, thank you, Sherelle. That did not just come to me by ESP. Sherelle shot it to me in a message because he's a kind human being. He also uses his left and right turn indicators when he's driving on the highway. Want to give a shout out to Sherelle and Sean for joining us. Sean Moran, Sherelle McMillan, they are the Lord Tariq and Peter Guns of this here podcast. We're thankful for them being here. Sherelle, how you feeling, man?
I love your 25-year-old references. I'm good, man.
Hey, look, I wasn't going to say anything about dating, but you're the guy with the eye struggles right now. So
Fair enough.
Shout out to needing new readers from the Walgreens. Sean Moran, how you feeling?
I'm doing pretty good today.
Yeah. Yeah, Sherelle, you're right. I do very much pigeonhole myself as to when music was leaving impressions on me, don't I?
It's fairly easy to catch, yeah. That 95 to 99 range, yeah, for sure.
Yes, the force is strong in that window of time. Guys, there's a lot to talk about. I will hearken our listeners and viewers to the info that you guys put out last week. Sherelle specifically put up a scoop about what you guys, as well as the other 24/7 national staff, saw and heard over the playing period in July. I think that's really good content. We're not going to repeat all of that, but I want to remind folks that it's out there if they want to go see it. The biggest thing I think there is for us to talk about right now as we record this is there have been 3 new offers doled out by Hubert Davis and the North Carolina basketball staff since we last recorded. So I want to go through each of those 3. I'm going to hit their names, their vitals, throw them out there and let you guys, Sherelle, let you talk a little bit about the offer. Sean, let you talk a little bit about their game. That's the way we roll. And hopefully this will give our listeners and viewers a little bit of the understanding of who these guys are that are now officially on UNC's recruiting radar. First one, 6'9", 185, top 50 player out of Brewster. He does play for Mac Irvin AAU out of Chicago. Matas Bazelis. Sherelle, what can you tell us about this offer and how it developed?
So he was the last of the 3 offers that came since the last time we've talked. And I think what's funny about each of them, especially this one, is that he said he hadn't heard from UNC at all prior to the phone call from Hubert Davis. So it's a situation where he gets a text from, the 919 area code, like, hey, this is Hubert Davis. I want to talk to you later. And then Hubert calls later and says, hey, you have an offer to UNC. And so that's kind of how it went down. He doesn't have a primary assistant yet. But I think what North Carolina liked about him is that he is just kind of scratching the surface of what he could become. Just reading some of the things I didn't see Mac Irvin 16s, the team he played for at all this summer. But from just reading what people are saying, evaluators that we trust and watching some, highlight videos and some streaming stuff, it just seems his versatility and, like I said, scratching the surface of what he can become is what attracts UNC. He can play with the ball in his hand some. Not saying he's going to be a full-time point guard, but he is one of those guys who can help move the ball. We've seen that with Hubert Davis. Emphasis is keep the ball moving. Whip it around from side to side. Will Shaver, one of their 2022 commitments, is great at that. Swinging from side to side. So when you have someone like Buzelis, as tall as he is, and with the attitude and mentality that he has, as far as wanting to pass and facilitate, that helps a lot if you can have someone at the 2 or the 3 or even the 4 who can pass like he does. So between that, his shooting acumen, and then he's pretty aggressive as a dunker too. So all those things I think caught the eye of Hubert, and when they watched him over at Peach Jam back in July.
Gotta love a kid who wants to punch on somebody. Again, 24/7 rankings typically have him in the top 50. If he is as dominant with the ball in his hand as the Crickets are in Sherelle's background, then I know he's going to be a load for recruit Knicks to follow. Sean, what do you think about his game? I mean, Scout lists him as a small forward. How do you feel like his game matches up with that typical position classification?
Yeah, I mean, he definitely likes operating on the wing. I mean, I think, projecting, you said it yourself, 6'9". So realistically, he'll probably be a stretch four, just given his size. But he is a guy that is comfortable on the wing. You're not going to find him, posting guys up, especially he's probably the skinniest guy that we'll talk about today. So he definitely needs to add some weight. But Sherelle mentioned his versatility, and in a lot of the articles, he kind of talks about being a point guard. Now, I wouldn't feel comfortable putting him at the full-time point guard position, but once again, he can handle the ball, and that allows him some flexibility on the perimeter because he can shoot. It was noted throughout kind of the first message board posting. A lot of people called out his low release point, so that's definitely something. As he advances, he'll need to work on, because the quicker and longer the defenders get, the easier that will be to block. But he's very comfortable kind of getting in that triple threat position, jab step. If you back off, he's going to let it go. If you don't, he'll attack. And he doesn't have kind of a lot of wiggle in his driving game, but he can do 1 to 2 very decisive moves, whether it's a spin or a crossover, and get to where he needs to go. And he's so long that he, as Sherelle mentioned again, he can finish pretty impressively. And he's a guy ranked in the 50s right now. I think another early impression on the message boards was is he quick enough? And I think at that stretch 4 position he will be, just because once again he's going to be going against, for the most part, players that aren't as used to covering on the perimeter. And I think once again, he's a guy that still has a lot of potential as he gets stronger. So he's lived in outside of Chicago. His parents are from Lithuania, but it's almost like he grew up in Lithuania with kind of that European flair. So he's a pretty intriguing prospect. Also, if you're kind of projecting out, will he be at UNC or wherever longer than a year? And at least right now, the answer is yes. Obviously, that can change in a hurry, but I think unlike the other 2 guys we're about to talk to, he might have more of a longer-term fit at a college.
I love that you pointed out to the comments that we saw on the message boards about his shot being so low, because when you're 6'9", playing at 6'2" guys, like you said, that doesn't really affect you. But as you get into stiffer competition, which he'll see at Brewster and other places as he continues to play, yeah, that may not get it done. Sherelle, something else you want to add about Matas Buzelis?
Yeah, I would just say right now his recruitment, it isn't a murderer's row of teams lined up. Kansas offers everyone, so they're in there. Illinois kind of being the home state school, DePaul is in there. Arizona with their new head coach is definitely looking at guys who kind of have that international flavor. But outside of that, it's probably his best offer is UCLA. So right now you're looking at UCLA, Carolina, Syracuse, Kansas, Illinois, and Arizona as kind of the group from which I would guess the the high profile schools from his offer list. And he's making a trip to Florida State, I think he said, as well as Wake Forest, and he does plan to get out to UNC. So his parents and his skills trainer are really the people involved. So as far as, recruitments and fit and all those things, it's definitely one that I think UNC can be active in and can win.
Well, we'll certainly keep an eye on that as things materialize. Again, it just so happened he popped on UNC's radar and had an offer very quickly. So we'll continue to track that. Next one, JJ Taylor, 6'8" and 185. By the way, all three of these kids listed weights are 185 pounds. So I'm assuming it's pretty much the same wing forward style player that Hubert Davis is locked in. I was like, oh, you're between 6'6" and 6'10". You weigh 185. Yes, I'm going to come see you. Another wing forward. Actually, if you look at Scout's rating on him, he's pretty much a top 10 player. Also from Chicago, attends Kenwood Academy. Sherelle, talk to us about JJ Taylor.
Yeah, so another player on Mac Irvin's 1600 team who's coached by Mike Irvin. And Mike Irvin is also his head coach at Kenwood. So his head coach in AAU and in high school are the same guy. So we talked to him a little bit about Taylor. And I think really more than anything is just he is, there's athletes and then there's good athletes and then there's elite athletes. He is like on top of the elite athletes. Like he has, and I know this is a vision, this is not a visual medium for those listening on podcasts, but I was raising my hand to show just kind of the athlete he is. I think that's what sticks out the most. His size helps him on the wing. I think you're talking about, I think you're talking about a wing, once he gets into the NBA. And just a dynamic player who can do a lot of things and do a lot of things well. His coach said that really what he likes is that the plays he makes are energy plays that get his team going. He does crazy dunks and he has a little bit of showmanship to him, which his coach liked. And then just the fact that he feels like he can be a really, really good defender once he kind of locks in and puts his mind to it. So I mean, this is that top 5 elite, guys who's going to be courted by all the professional leagues, courted by Kansas and Kentucky and Duke. Kentucky and Duke offered June 15th, the first day that coaches could call rising juniors. So they offered immediately. So Carolina is a little, 2 months, I wouldn't say behind, but they're 2 months after he got the Duke and Kentucky offer. So this is, the elite of the elite. This is the, one of the top guys in the class. So there's no harm in it. We'll see what happens. I think maybe we don't give UNC enough credit. The fact that, Caleb was a top 10 player coming out of high school, and Nasir was a top 10 player coming out of high school, and Cole Anthony was a top 10 player coming out of high school, because we immediately see, oh, he's ranked number 3. There's no way he's going to go to Carolina because they're not Duke and Kentucky right now. But that's 3 top 10 guys in the last, 4 classes. So maybe there's more of a chance, especially with NIL now.
Awesome. I do love whenever you talk about guys with energy that can kind of ignite the rest of their team. That's a factor that you really don't see in measurables if you're looking at a kid's profile, and hearing you share what his coach Mike Irvin has said about him is pretty intriguing. Sean, talk to us about his game a little bit. What jumps out at you aside from JJ Taylor's dominant athleticism?
Well, I mean, Sherelle said dynamic player, and he's definitely a dynamic player. I mean, talking about these 2 players almost makes me wish I was back in Chicago in terms of being able to get a few more viewings. And actually, when I was in Chicago, his older brother, Steve Taylor, played for Simeon alongside Jabari Parker, who I got to watch a lot in person, but very different games between the brothers. Steve was more of a 4-5-4, and here you have an all-around 3. So for him, I mean, there's not a lot of weaknesses to pinpoint, because he's got, normally you'd see, okay, he's really athletic, he can get to the rim, he can dunk, he probably is not going to be able to shoot that well. I don't know what his percentages were in Peach Jam, but he's got, good form on his shot, which is what you want to see going forward. And he's got range. He can handle the ball. Sherelle mentioned kind of high energy plays. I think talking to people that watched him at Pangos and some other, one of the weaknesses was that I heard was motor. And so while he might have high energy plays, it almost seemed like he was getting bored maybe at times of maybe not being, not getting to play against people that can challenge him, and deciding to kind of turn it on or off. But at the same time, he averaged 25 points a game as a freshman at Morgan Park in Chicago, and averaging 20 points, even if you're a senior in the Chicago Public League, is extremely impressive. So to do that as a freshman obviously shows that he is kind of, Chicago hasn't had one of those top tier guys for 5+ years. And he's one that, when we're talking about the draft and, 2023. Yeah, if I'm doing the easy math in my head, his name will be up there unless, something happens. So, right now he's in that upper echelon, and I don't see any way he kind of drops out of it, at least right now.
Yeah, I'm sure you guys probably know the numbers a little better than I, just as far as how many guys are top 10 at this point, and then tank or drop out of sight. And just with his skill set right now, I don't see that. Like you guys said, I think there's going to be a myriad of opportunity for him, whether it be college or different professional options or what have you. All right, and the last one, who was offered, I think, right after we recorded the last episode of the Coast to Coast podcast, Mackenzie Mbako. If you're looking him up on the Scout database, last name is spelled Mbako. 6'7", you guessed it, 185 pounds, wing forward, kind of a top 20-ish kid if you're looking at Scouts rankings. Out of excuse me, out of New Jersey, Gil St. Bernard. Sherelle, what's the haps?
Yeah, another player they watched a lot in July. There are a few times we were like, who, are they watching New Jersey Scholars, which is a team he plays on Nike YBO circuit. And we thought, that they might be, but you don't know for sure when you're not there. And I think this offer confirmed that a lot of the viewings that we thought were for New Jersey Scholars were for him, because they also have DeJuan Wagner's son on that team as well, so they're kind of teammates. And
Man, you guys are old.
I know. I mean, I remember when I was like, oh, DeJuan Wagner, he's Milt Wagner's son. So I'm getting to the third generation now.
Double generation old.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah. So Mackenzie, man, just in July, if you talk to recruiting guys and scouts and everything, he is one of the biggest risers in general, regardless of class, just by how well he played, all the things he can do from the small forward spot. He just seems like an all-around complete player. Again, we didn't get a chance to see him in person. The live period that the couple of live periods that we were on the road, they were up north, so we didn't get a chance to see him. But by all accounts, North Carolina again likes the versatility. That's kind of the buzzword with Hubert Davis, versatility, and then the shooting and the spacing. And I think he can provide that for UNC. Now, again, it's going to be tough sledding because this is, one of those top 10, elite of the elite type players who has offers from, the major schools, and everybody wants him, and he's going to get professional looks as well. So when you start putting players in tiers, Taylor and Mackenzie are kind of, in that elite, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys who are going to get these offers. And then I think Mattis is kind of in the next one below, who will be really good college players for a year or two. But that's the kind of prospect you're talking about, an elite one and done type who will be a, top 10 consensus in his class among all the services.
I just can't wait until we're talking about UNC's roster iteration of a certain season where Hubert Davis can send out 5 guys that are all 6'7", between 180 and 200 pounds. Sean, you've had a chance to see some of Mbako's video. Tell us a little bit about what you see and what jumps off the screen at you.
Yeah, I mean, when watching him and then Taylor kind of back to back, there's obviously a lot of similarities. Right now, he's ranked, I think, 14th, but just given how he played and how he moves and everything, top 5, I don't think it's out of the question. At some point, that might be maybe a little aggressive, but easily top 10, as Sherelle said. So, but here's a guy who was playing, a rising junior. He was actually playing on the 17 and under circuit in the EYBL. So. Playing against, some better competition than the 16 under Macro and Fire. And here he was averaging 17.5 points, shot 37.5% from 3, and he hit 27 threes over the course of the 2 weeks. So he was certainly firing them up. But similar to Taylor, I mean, he's got good form, but he can do stuff off the dribble. He can defend a few different positions. So once again, another versatile threat. I feel like would have to kind of go back and maybe look at some stats, or even when Hubert was an assistant. But I feel he loves the New Jersey area when recruiting. So we'll see if that can start maybe paying some dividends at some point in the future. But you're looking at the three guys that are all versatile, can shoot kind of that 6'7", up to 6'9" type of player. And here you have two for sure one and dones, and then another guy that is skilled that we think will be moving up. It was interesting to see the offers come out, and just seeing what he was looking for.
Yeah. All right. So that's a really good synopsis of three guys. Sherelle, what were you about to say?
Taylor was another one who, when we talked to him, he was like, the first time I heard from UNC was today. I got a text from a 919 area code. It was Hubert Davis, and he said, "I'm going to call you, in a little bit." And he called and offered. So
it's a good thing these kids didn't think it was like an auto aftermarket warranty spam call, right?
Yeah, it's just funny that Mac Irvin 16 and under team must have had like an amazing game when they watched him in July.
Well, I mean, they had that Woods Elite game, because when you're watching Buzelis's highlights, a lot of what he was doing was in that Woods Elite, and you could see Hubert sitting there. So that game obviously left an impression on him. So then the question goes, were they watching a lot of other tape afterwards, or was it that game and that left the main impression, and now comes the offer a week or so afterwards, very quickly. So a little different than the old regime in terms of offers.
Hey, maybe Coach Davis just wants an excuse to go get some massively overrated Chicago deep dish pizza. I'm going to get some hell for that, aren't I?
Yeah, you are.
All right. All right. Let's take a quick break. While we're headed that way, I want to give a big shout out to Johnny T-Shirt. Guys, right now, if you go to johnnytshirt.com, the first thing that will come up on your screen is a massive, huge national championship size banner that says 70% off. That's right. They're having a summer clearance. They're trying to move some of their stuff out because they're making room for the new stuff that's coming in for fall sports. So you really can't go wrong. There's something for everybody. I'm not just saying that. I know it's a cliche, but it's really true. I've gone through some of the items on here. I got new arrivals. I got all of the fall sports stuff. They're already starting to get new Nike fall hoodies in, all of your football gear. If you want to, if you're the kind that likes to have the gear that the teams are wearing right now when they're doing practice, when they're doing photo day and all that stuff, it's available for you at Johnny T-Shirt. Hit them up. Take care of Johnny T-Shirt. They've been taking care of Inside Carolina subscribers forever. Premium subscribers know you get that premium code right there on the message board. Take that, use that on your purchase. Take the extra dime off the top. There's nothing wrong with saving money, y'all. Johnny T-Shirt's here for you. So johnnytshirt.com, right there on East Franklin Street in Chapel Hill. They can help you out. They can help you out with instant, delivery out to your car if you need that, or their shipping's always quick right from their warehouse up in Hillsboro. johnnytshirt.com. We appreciate them, and we certainly appreciate you guys sending them your business. Take a quick break for some national ads. We'll be right back. We'll talk about some of the kids that are still on the board for the North Carolina Tar Heels for the 2022 class. Hang tight. All right, fellas, ladies, you who have stuck around, we appreciate it. First half, we broke down the new offers that have come out from Hubert Davis and his staff for the 2023 class. Now we're going to look at a couple of guys that are still on the board for 2022, talking about some visits that have been set up since the last time we did one of these shows. Sherelle, talk to us about what's going on with Tyler Nickel. He seems like he put out his list.
Yes, he did.
Do you want to elaborate on that?
This is called like hosting.
I throw it to you, and you give us elaboration and more information.
I was waiting for the question mark tone. Like, he gave out his list, but you gave me more of an ellipsis. So I was like, do I answer? Do I wait? So yeah, he has a interesting. He has an interesting five. They're going to take visits to all five of his finalists. So he has Virginia Tech, he has North Carolina, he has Iowa, he has LSU, and then I'm forgetting the fifth, and I'm just being a pretty bad analyst right now.
That's so
LSU and Iowa, you can't get more different than that.
Yeah, so I'm being a really not great analyst right now. So he's visiting North Carolina, September 10th is the official visit date, and right now there are only two players who have visits, kind of on the book. So the good thing about that is, I guess if you're UNC, he'll be there for a football game. It'll be a night football game. It'll be the first home game. So it should be pretty lively in Chapel Hill to experience kind of the first weekend of everyone kind of being back as it
Mhm.
stands right now for UNC football and really just in general in 2 years. So there's gonna be a lot of catharsis that weekend, I think, from fans. So that'll be a good experience for him. But I think North Carolina has done a good job with him. As far as making sure that he knows that he is a priority for them, but also making sure that he knows that they are still talking with other players. So they've done a really good job of kind of balancing those two things. And we'll see what happens. I don't want to be pretentious, but you would expect that considering the rest of his list, if North Carolina really, really pushes, that they could get him. But we'll see.
That fifth school that you were blanking on is Butler,
Butler, that's
and
why I was blanking on him.
obviously
Yeah.
they cannot offer the same football game day experience that he might be able to get at a North Carolina or a Virginia Tech or an LSU or even in Iowa. If you're into that kind of thing, I know Sean Moran loves all
Hey,
things Big Ten athletics. So, Sean, I'm going to ask you a question here. How do you feel like Tyler Nickel would complement the three guys that have already committed to Hubert Davis in the 2022 class?
I think he would complement everybody pretty well. I know we the last few times we've talked more about Isaac Trout, but I think for Nickel, where Trout's a 4 or 5, Nickel I'd say is a 3/4, 4/3, maybe depending on how you want to view him. But I think he kind of adds that perimeter threat. You have point guard, you have big man, now you have a perimeter guy, and he's a guy that can score, and he's a guy that is aggressive, and he's another guy that does not have, at least right now, kind of one and done potential. So another kind of longer term building block. So I think with him, it could definitely be a fit, and he could perhaps provide some of that scoring punch to go with Trimble and then Washington as well as Shaver once he kind of gets acclimated.
And then the other scheduled visit that we already kind of have on our radar, Sherelle broke this a while back. Cam Whitmore going to be having his visit right now scheduled for August the 22nd. So as you hear this about 2 weeks from now, Sherelle, how does that look? How do you expect that to play out? And kind of give us would you like to give us some more insight about Cam Whitmore visiting Chapel Hill?
Question for him, Jeopardy. Thank you. Yeah, he came out of July as the number one target. I feel very comfortable saying that. He's the guy I think they feel like complements best the three commitments that they have. He has shown himself to be a solid shooter. I think he wasn't quite as good as he was in June. As he wasn't quite as good in July as he was in June from a shooting aspect, because when Hubert Davis saw him, I mean, he was lights out. He shot like in the 60s from three over those 2 days. He's not quite that shooter, but he's also not what he shot in July. So somewhere in between. And I think what they like about him is just he is. I hesitate to use the word ferocious, but he really is in how he plays. Whatever phrase you want to use: high motor, ferocious,
We'll allow
physical.
it.
Dog. Your favorite Joey. He's all those things. And I think they like that because when you're going to play a style where maybe you have bigs who are picking, popping, and being out on the perimeter, you need athletic dudes and wings who can come in and help you crash the boards. And I think Whitmore can really do that with his size and his physicality. He's 6'6" right now, but I don't think that really matters just because of his athleticism, and the things that he can do with the ball in his hands. For T Mello, sometimes they gave him the ball and he would make great passes and great rebounder, really, really good defender. I think he's one of those guys who legitimately can guard like 1 through 4, maybe 1 through 5, depending upon how tall the 5 is. But all that to say, he is the guy right now for them. I think it's not even close. Like, he is the number one target. And, that's why they wanted to get him on an official so quickly, to kind of get their name out there, so to speak. He's got
Mhm.
visits to Illinois and Miami, and I still think he's going to set up 2 other official visits. He's already taken one to Maryland, but that was a junior year, so he could take another to Maryland. Villanova is a school that's in there, but it's going to be stiff competition. But he's the guy for them right now.
And like you said, I would be shocked if you would see it and pull out all the stops when they get him on campus. Sean, refresh us a little bit about Cam Whitmore's game, aside from him being a dog and a ferocious playmaker and all of the things that Sherelle and I throw back and forth all the time.
Well, I mean, I think the main thing, and this goes with those adjectives, is his athleticism. I mean, he can jump out of the gym. That's the thing that when you're watching him, whether it's a block shot from the help side or catching an alley-oop, he can jump out of the gym. Sherelle mentioned shooting. In June, he shot the ball extremely well. It's still kind of a question mark. Can he really shoot? It wasn't answered in Peach Jam because he shot 24% from the 3-point line, under 50% from the free throw line as well. But once again, here's a guy that, we talk about versatility, 3-4, 4-3, but 6'6", he's strong enough, athletic enough where a big guy's not going to, take him down to the post, right? But he can easily switch and cause havoc on the defensive end, which I think is probably his calling card when you look at, his defensive ability, his rebounding, and then, the guy can score as well. But once again, a guy that I think will also need to, improve that offensive skill set to not kind of pigeonhole is not the right word, but when he gets to college, teams are able to focus on his weaknesses, and now some of that athleticism gets negated because every team knows exactly what he's going to do. But it makes sense that he's the top target for UNC. You don't find that athleticism every day, and once again, I think the shooting has been up and down, but he still has some time to work on that.
So Sherelle made mention in our chat, which often keeps me on the rails here. He put TE in there, which I'm assuming means that Cam Whitmore can just run a really good dig route from the tight end position. Would this be attached or would this be detached from the line of scrimmage?
I think he's more of a detached guy. No, I mean, you think about it, he's 6'6". He's listed at 200 pounds now. He's only 17. So if basketball doesn't work out for him, man, like honestly, how many times have we seen it where the athletic, kind of forward who is built strong, tries out for football and it just works out. I mean, the kid at Baylor, I forget his name. He's not a kid. He's a grown man. I shouldn't say kid. The guy at Baylor years ago.
Rico Gathers.
Rico Gathers. Dallas picked him up for like 4 years. I mean, he played in maybe one game, but he made a ton of money just because Dallas was like, oh, this dude is super athletic. Let's see what happens. And he was in the NFL for 4 years on a roster spot just because of the threat of his athleticism. And I think Whitmore is that type of player. Now, he's not nearly as big right now, but that's something that could change once he gets into a college strength and conditioning program. But that's just the kind of athlete I'm trying to help people understand. That's the kind of athlete he is that it's not even far-fetched at all for him to be thinking about that down the line if basketball doesn't work out. But it seems like basketball is going to work out for him.
Hey, man, we appreciate that you are a well-rounded humanitarian that cares about what options this kid may have outside of basketball. I appreciate that. You're looking out for the kid.
Yes.
All right. Before we get to some housekeeping stuff, Sean, you got 2 pennies for us before we wrap the show?
I think I'm all out of pennies for right now. I mean, I just think in terms of as we try to figure out, what type of player is Hubert watching, and how are those offers going to come? So once again, you're kind of waiting for it. You knew something was going to happen, and then boom, boom, boom. 3 come, a little quiet, or 3 more going to come. What position? Right now, it's obviously that small forward spot that they're focusing on in that rising junior class. But who else is on the radar? Because they're not going to be shy about going after the top 10 talent and then mixing it in with more of that 4-star as well.
Well, as always, we appreciate it. And before we get out of here, I want to make sure you guys have a chance to get some of this love too. I challenged our listeners and viewers to leave us some reviews in the last podcast. I do not know how to access reviews or ratings in any other mediums other than the Apple Podcast format, but I need to give a shout out to AlexCo222, which was the handle he left. He was the first person to give a review after our last podcast. So shout out there. B Taylor 910 says loves the content, always informative. Keep up the great work, Joey, Sherelle, and Sean. Hey, I'll just be here. Sherelle and Sean are the ones doing the heavy lifting. But some other folks that left really nice reviews for us, want to give them some love. I am _AGE, J_Doc, JDoc, Terrell Joy, RECNC, TAEHTTR, which I'm sure is one of Sherelle's best friends. Hail to the Redskins there. Drew Young 11, Gavin-33B, definitely gave some love to the Coast to Coast podcast. Maverick Borelli, Stu Scott fan, N Goodling, at Sfort _704, and Kroger's 78. All of those folks gave Inside Carolina some ratings and review love. So gentlemen, yes, gentlemen and ladies, we salute you for that. And if you guys, again, if you don't like what we're doing, let us know, because we want to be better about it. We're trying to up our game, be on our hashtag grind, because hashtag no days off, hashtag in the lab, all that good stuff, as the kids say. Man, how old do I sound? Do I sound old enough, or am I hip?
You know the GIF or GIF, however you say it, of the I can't remember the guy. He's like, "Hello, fellow students."
Yeah.
Steve
Hello,
Buscemi, yeah,
fellow
yeah.
kids.
The guy who's in every movie, but you don't know his name, or I didn't know his name. Yeah, I know him from Armageddon.
I hope I'm not as ugly as Steve Buscemi. That dude,
you're not.
That dude is uglier than a bowling shoe. Good God. All right, fellas. I appreciate your time this evening. We appreciate everybody listening. Special thanks to Johnny T-Shirt for sponsoring the show. Big shout out to John Siegley, our producer extraordinaire behind the scenes, who puts all this audio together for you guys and gets it out into your devices. And for Sean Moran, for Sherelle McMillan, the Quavo and Offset of this show, I am just Joey Powell. That's a 95.
Yeah, that was like 2012, 2013.
I'm within the same decade, right?
Yeah,
I'm close.
Yeah.
We appreciate y'all being here. We'll catch you next time. This has been the Coast to Coast podcast on InsideCarolina.com. Late.